Okay, in this lesson, we're going to learn how to determine measures of variance for a set of data. Okay, so what are measures of variance? So what a measure of variance does, what it does is it measures spread in a set of data. So for example, if our data kind of looks like this, and this is where the middle is based on other tests that we have done. And we know that a data point is way over here. It's farther away from the middle, or the center. Or we might have one that's very close. And so when we go ahead and we look at measures, when we look at the spreads, we can actually do some calculations and figure out exactly where they're at in our set of data. And it kind of tells us a little bit more information about, is it normal or is it an oddity? So before we can go ahead and find the one that's going to be most useful to us, we have to figure out how to figure out what we call the variance. So what the variance is it just kind of tells us an idea about the spread, but it's kind of like a intermediary point. So let's make sure we understand what the formula means. So this, remember, means the sum of a set of numbers. This right here is saying we want the first number up until the last number. So for us, in this data set, this is our first number, and this is our last number. X sub I means the individual number from our set of data. And remember, X bar is the mean. And N, of course, is how many are in our data set. In our case, it's 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead first and we're going to figure out what all of those values are, and then we're going to add them together. So I like to organize this in a chart. So if I go ahead and I have 85, I can't do anything with it until I figure out the mean. So go ahead and pause and figure out the mean. And you should have gotten 479 divided by, 6, which is 79.83, And we're going to round. We're not going to use that exact value for each one. Okay, so if my number is 85, if I go ahead and I subtract 85 minus 79.83, I get 5.16666, and then I'm going to square it. So what I did was I did 85 minus the 79.83, got my answer, and I squared it. So what do I get? Well, what you Okay, so what you should have gotten is about 26.7. And then we go to the next number and we repeat. So go ahead and pause and finish up. Okay, so what we should have gotten was these values. And what kind of like they're telling me is, I see over here I got a large value for this one. So it seems that 60 is pretty far away from where the mean is. Okay, so next step is to take all of those numbers and add them up. And if you haven't done so, do that now. So what we see that we got is 111.46 when we actually do our division. Now, this number itself doesn't really tell us much, but what it helps us do is figure out what the standard deviation is. And the standard deviation is a specific measure of how far away a data is from our mean. Okay, so we've already gone ahead and seen how we figure out the variance. And the standard deviation, we're using this symbol here. It's called sigma. So it's like the lowercase f of this. And what it is just the square root of the variance. So we've actually already done all this work. And so if I want to go ahead and I want to figure out the standard deviation, I'm just going to take the square root of what I got for my variance, and so that's just a matter of hitting a button, and I get that it is about 10.55. Okay, and that's all for this lesson.